two different things. One is talking about a medical which is done annually. Secondly is fatigue. The Air Force doctors are not going to be sitting with the pilots to find out the fatigue. Like it was just mentioned, that it is a DGCA and the airline which is going to find out whether the pilots are fatigued or not. We cannot check that in an annual medical. No doctor can check whether you were fatigued throughout the 365 days when you're going for annual medical. So here the rules have been changed for annual medical. That annual medical which was being done by the accredited institutions will now be done by the Air Force. In fact, what was happening was the tests were being done by the accredited institutions, brought to the Air Force CME, IM and JORAT, and then they were checking whether your test are you fit or not fit. Now, those tests will also be done by the Air Force, with the labs have that capacity and so on. That is what is to be seen. Fatigue has got nothing to do with this particular test.
Fatigue has nothing to do with the medical examination. The doctor is not going to sit and examine fatigue levels. This is a once in a year, an annual medical test, which is mandatory, which looks at all the medical parameters as perhaps is normally done for any individual to check their health. Your response to that, Dr. Sushil?
I think, see, right now, after all the issue, definitely the government is getting strict now. So definitely these are one of the steps taken for more safety. So I think like, this is like, should be appreciated for the future step.
Let me bring in Captain Wadia on this. Captain Wadia, what are the norms globally speaking when it comes to such medical tests? What are the norms, for instance, that FAA has? Are there medical renewal norms that are specified? Because I was told that there are norms over there. There's no requirement of this kind of long list of tests to be done. And these are all ICAO certified. What is the difficulty in having that implemented here in India?
Well, I'm coming to exactly that point. First of all, most people are not aware that different grades of pilots at different stages have different types of medical. Some pilots have to go every 6 months for a medical. Some pilots have to go every year for medical. And so therefore, there are different reasons for doing this medical. But what is more important is the qualification of the doctor itself. Now, there are many thousands of doctors who are eminently qualified. There may be heart specialists, there may be brain specialists. Are they qualified to give you a medical certificate for your flying? No, they're not. There are people, there are pilots, and there are pilots who are doctors also, and there are doctors who are pilots also, have done specialized training in aviation medicine. And Bangalore is a very good example. In fact, there's another institute over there that's called the Human Engineering Panel, which belongs to the DRNDO, which does a lot of research work also. So therefore, these doctors who are there are very qualified, eminently qualified to give these certificates. So therefore, you must have a large quantity of doctors, apart from having the quality also, to give these certificates.
Right. Captain Amit Singh, what's the global norms and how far are we from those norms when it comes to such medical certification?
Well, global norms are like what was prevailing before this circular came in, that there is a hospital, so there is a recognized hospital, and there is a recognized and qualified doctor who's qualified in aviation medicine. So you can go there anytime, seek an appointment and get your medical done. Final assessment has to be done by the DGCA medical department. So that is how it runs globally. So Air Force does not do it in any part of the world. They may be doing in a limited way, but civil medical is civil medical. That's why ICAO is regulating it. It is basically delegated to the Air Force because we don't have the capability and we do not want to build the capability. That is a bigger problem. If we are the third largest in aviation globally, but we do not have the capability of a civil medical. They're still dependent on the Air Force. Air Force priority is their own people first, then the retired, the veterans, and then the civil. So that is their priorities. So we can't be overloading and continue to loading them. We have to have our own facility and capability.
All right. Dr. Sushil, I think that's a fair suggestion. Why don't we have our own infrastructure developed? We are supposed to be the third largest aviation market globally. Isn't it high time that we develop this infrastructure where we have qualified, trained doctors, where there is no doubt about the quality of the testing that's happening?
Yes, Captain Amit rightly said, definitely we don't have that much of doctors who are qualified for particular aviation expert, as a medical expert. But now the government definitely is keen on that, and definitely they are authorizing more Air Force medical professional to get into this field. And as well, there are some more lists are coming out now. You see in next couple of months, you'll see there will be multiple panels will be coming up for this medical test now.
Okay, multiple panelists will be coming up. Marshal Sachdeva, you want to respond to that? Because, the concerns at the end of the day, as you were rightly saying, is that if they don't trust these tests, there must be some reason. There must be particular instances that perhaps have not been reported or have not come to light, or good reasons for the DGCA to do this.
I think the whole game is, first of all, every pilot in India who's flying has been certified by the Indian Air Force Civil Aviation Aviation Medicine Specialist doctor to fly. First of all, let's make it very clear. For every pilot who's flying in India has been certified by him. Now the catch is the test done by Air Force or outside. That's the debate this rule is taking us into, whether the tests are done by the Air Force or by outside. Now the rule has come up of 2nd July that the test will be done by Indian Air Force. Was there something which went wrong, that the people were getting tests done wrongly outside, unethical? I really don't know. That the airlines will know. And once the airlines know, the DGCA knows. And the DGCA knows, the airline knows. That's about it. No pilot in India is flying without the certification by the IAM, CME or Jorat doctors. That's very clear.
So what really is the solution then, Captain Wadia? We revert to the existing system at the earliest. We create infrastructure, which is of course a long-term measure. What really can be done in the given circumstances?
What can be done is stop having a knee-jerk reaction. The idea is good, yes, but take its own time. Till you have adequately qualified number of doctors, do not implement a new rule which will put a full stop to the medical certificate. So let me also clarify that even in the IIM and doctors who are very well qualified for the same reason, sometimes they have to go into ICAO regulations and certify and see what the ICAO regulations tells them, and then only clear. So every pilot is not cleared just blankly by any doctor, etc. And every doctor is not qualified to be an aviation medicine specialist, etc. So please take your time to qualify people, understand what the problems are, and then bring in a new regulation that will affect all the pilots in this country. Yes, we have a huge number of pilots, and it's going to increase, it's not going to decrease. And therefore, what is a priority one for this very specific reason, you first need now to qualify many, many more pilots. There can be retired pilots doctors from the Air Force who could be qualified and certified to give certificates to the new pilots also. But have the people qualified first and foremost.
That's an important suggestion, Dr. Sushilan. Get qualified or perhaps retired doctors to come in who know the procedure, who know how it works, so that you have enough infrastructure, enough bench strength to ensure that these tests are conducted in a manner that is above board. And I'd also like to add to that, end of the day, we are talking here about a specific area. That is, of course, doctors who are specialized in aviation. But even if we look at our own infrastructure of training pilots, it's woefully inadequate because an overwhelming majority of them are trained abroad and not here in India.
No, as said by Captain Mino, the people who are, medical professional from the Air Force background right now, they are doing the checks. And the entire 42 numbers of doctors who are doing the medical checks are from ex-Air Force only. So we are doing the same practice from very long, that ex-Air Force professional coming and joining the medical, and they are doing the checks. And then this will definitely continue. Right now, for the time being, this notice which came up, so for the secondary check, you can say a secondary check, they want them to go to the Air Force base and do the medical check. I think, and this is because of the recent accident which happened. That is the point of view for this one.
So let me bring in Captain Amit Singh on that. Captain Amit Singh, is that a valid concern? A, the lack of trained personnel in specified areas, and B, pilots themselves, if they are trained in India, if we have a huge training infrastructure, of course there are flying schools, but perhaps to cater to the kind of demand that we have domestically itself, and the need to in fact bring in foreign pilots, etc., or even Indians trained abroad, all of that would drastically come down, wouldn't it?
Yeah, so we need a roadmap, a long-term roadmap. So we are working right now on a very short-term planning. Some airline orders 50 aircrafts, 100 aircrafts, but we know that in the next 30, 40 years, we'll have so many aircrafts. And if we start the training setup here, then obviously we'll have medical setup. All these institutions will mushroom together and grow together. It will be a symbiotic growth. Right now it is dispersed. Pilot is training somewhere in Europe or New Zealand or US. Medical is happening here in the Air Force. In the Air Force also, let me say, not all the time, but there is at times there's a blur between the civil requirements and the Air Force requirements. The Air Force examiner would like to judge them based on the Air Force requirements, whereas the civil is much more relaxed. Nowhere safety is compromised. So let me say that the infrastructure and the growth of these institutions have to be together, not dispersed. Geographically, they have to be in the same place. So that's because the interplay is there between all of them. The pilots move to the medical training, simulators, and other departments of training. India will invest about more than $1 billion in training itself in the next 10 years, and 60% will go outside. So that is a big forex drain. But we are not trying to build our own infrastructure, whereas we know for the long term we need it. That is a bigger issue. Getting an appointment in CME with leg now takes about 3 to 4 months. Now, if it is overloaded, I don't know if the airlines will have that much manpower left to man the schedule or not. So those concerns also have to be looked at, the immediate requirement.
Right. Marshal Sachdeva, do you agree with that contention that sometimes, perhaps not all the time as Captain Amit Singh says, but sometimes the doctors can conflate the Air Force requirements with what the civil pilots requirements are? How often does that happen in your experience?
I think on a daily basis, the slots have already been given to this for civil medical. Initial pilots, even if they're flying a small aeroplane in the flying club or their initial medical, the slots are given and you're already booking and going as per those slots. That's the capacity of the medical center. So they're taking the Air Force also as per slots, and this also slots have been given. And sir, the medical rules for the as per ICAO or DGCA and as per Air Force are different. I've been getting my medical done both together. I would pass my civil medical, but I will fail my Air Force medical because the rules were much stringent there. And for civil, if my ear is 85 decibels, yes, I will go through, but not for the Air Force. So those kind of things were happening. Both the books are different and both the books are followed differently by the doctors. But as of now, the slots are given. So everybody knows that Bangalore has got so many slots. I book into the slot and I go. But what the nation is not going to go through, if everything is coming back to the Air Force, then you have to increase the capacity, or why not have aviation medicine specialists outside? Let the doctors do it. Like you said, all the retired doctors of the Air Force are involved. You'll have to build an ecosystem of the doctors who can do the medical outside, and don't burden the Air Force. I'm not saying don't burden the Air Force. As of now, the capacity is only these many slots in a day.
So what can be done immediately, Dr. Sushilin, to avert the problem at hand? Immediately, what can be done? Because Air Force clearly doesn't have the infrastructure.
No, basically, when we say about the medical slots and availability, we always look for pan-India level, because the Air Force pilot or like a commercial pilot, they fly anywhere in India to get a slot, because airlines have the capability to make them relocate to that particular location so that they can get a slot. So right now also, like as I said, 42 doctors are approved and 11 bases are approved for the particular medical. So now, at least right now, everyone is getting slot, because when I had a discussion with multiple airlines and I got the information that on time they are getting, because suppose their license getting expired, a month before itself they apply for getting the medical done, and they are getting the slots on time. So there's no complaint coming in from the airlines currently. So now after getting this letter, definitely they'll be again check that are they facing any issues, and definitely government have to definitely increase more numbers of hospitals or more number of doctors have to be approved. And I think the government is on it now. After getting this letter, I think another 30 or 35 days, you can see another list of new panel members.
Okay, another 30 to 35 days. But in the interim, Captain Wadia, is that factually correct? What is your conversation with pilots? Of course, you head the Federation of Indian Pilots. What is the ground level experience or the feedback that you've been getting?
The feedback is fine. So far, so good. But let me come to a larger point. Today, we are all specialists talking on this panel, discussing aviation safety. The people who make these regulations in the government, who are these people? Are they qualified to make these decisions to start with? Have they consulted this panel who is here today on your TV channel? Have they consulted anyone? Are they aware of what is required for the medical, for civil pilots? These are the issues. See, for example, for the last 50 years, we've been saying that there has to be an independent safety board. And after so many years, yes, today things have improved very slightly. And we have a safety board which is still not independent. It is still not independent, but it is some progress to the other. So therefore, people who make these regulations have to be far more qualified in aviation matters than it is prevalent at the moment.
All right, we'll have to leave it there.
And the government.
We'll have to leave it there. Captain Amit Singh, Captain Minu Wadia, as well as Air Marshal Rajeev Sachdeva and Dr. Sumit Sushrilan. I'd like to thank all four of you for joining us and breaking this down. What does this really mean in terms of aviation? Is it going to impact flight schedules? At the moment, no, but potentially could if there are further roadblocks that pilots will have to face as a result of this new norm. Thank you so much for joining us this evening.